The Winter Collie. The late afternoon chill had already chipped straight through the thin layer of gloves, but the cold felt good on the bruised flesh, and I was tempted to open my jacket to allow more of it to ice the pain. Snow was beginning to fall again, collecting on my eyelashes as I studied the gray skies for a while. The sun disappeared much quicker these days. Only an hour of wandering the ice-paved streets and I was already losing light. I readjusted my book bag. Just the motion was excruciating, but allowing the weight to sag off my shoulders alleviated some of the burning on my back. The relief was fleeting, however. The strain building in my arms, the ache screaming in my legs after each crunching step. The bus was on the opposite side of the park, but if I cut through the golf course, I could limp it there in plenty of time before the next one came. People were starting to stare at me. I didn't think there'd be as many here since it's the middle of winter, but unfortunately for me, the dedication some joggers have is unshakable, even at the threat of a storm. Most of them passed by with a mere side glance, but from the corner of my eye I could see some start to slow at the sight of me, trying to gauge the situation before deciding to approach me. I averted my eyes, keeping them set on the white lines that marked the street. Having no choice, I forced my sore legs to walk as normal as possible, biting my lip as I hoisted my bag back up. The burning radiated from my shoulders down, but I continued on this way as the road began a gruesome incline to the park entrance. I didn't want to look up again. Looking at the hill would only make it higher. When movement stirred in my peripheral, my head turned on instinct. A small border collie had perked up at the sight of me, and the sudden boost of adrenaline numbed my muscles enough to jerk back. The only pain I felt now was an unrelated injury from long ago. The flicker of savage teeth sent phantom senses tingling into my arm, and despite the cold, I could feel a nervous sweat break across my brow. The long dissolved stitches seemed to open up, breaking the jagged scar and letting me bleed out into the snow. I shook my head, clearing away the bleak memory as I backed further away from the dog. The collie made no move to lunge after me, and something about the way it settled back onto its front paws reminded me of someone drooping their shoulders. Like a balloon that had been swiftly depleted, hope seemed to have escaped him with an exhale. Past instinct told me to run, but I hesitated. The dog was tethered to the tree by a short chain on the edge of the lawn, and beyond him I recognized the crooked house that belonged to the most notorious man in the neighborhood. I had never been sure if any of the rumors surrounding him were true, but looking at his dog now, it was pretty obvious some of them were. I've never been allowed to own a pet, so I didn't know much about them, but I could tell by his bone thinness and his spotted fur caked over with layers of filth that he wasn't in good shape. A hollowness filled my chest. I took a tentative step forward. The collie's head turned at my approach, and fear froze me in place for a moment or two. Only this time I didn't back away. The dog lifted up again, and though one of his eyes was swelled shut, the other stared back at me with the look I knew all too well. I heard movement from within the garage, and my heart skipped into a full sprint. If the man caught me trespassing, he'd make a scene for sure, and if my mother found out. The garage door of his owner began to open, and the dog whimpered, the cold nipping in between the patches where fur had fallen, his tail tucked in, half sunken in snow. I'm not really sure what came over me, but in a split-second decision, I'd closed the distance between my place on the sidewalk and his spot near the tree. The dog whimpered again as I neared, and another round of that bitter memory resurfaced. Phantom senses from that attack threatened to circle back. Growls, screams, teeth and claws. Still, my frostbitten fingers continued their efforts to undo the tether noosed around the collie's neck. I had been given a chance to escape, so how could I deny that same chance to another? The garage door was nearly all the way up just as I managed to free the chain from the dog's neck. We were both wary of each other, yet there was already a sense of trust, an inexplicable force built on nothing else but a twin understanding. It was enough for him to allow me close, and enough to give me the courage to scoop him up. I ran away without once looking back, shielding the dog as best I could within the layers of my coat, fearing there would be the sound of footsteps giving chase. My tracks would give my crime away, but I had a head start and was confident I could make it to the opposite side of town where the streets broadened and my trail would quickly be covered by other passerby. The dog settled wearily into my arms, and as the height of adrenaline climbed down, the aching in my own body returned to the forefront as well. But for the first time, I wasn't alone in the pain, and neither was he. And maybe that was what we both had needed in order to heal. Thank you so much for watching. You can check out this story and others on my Wattpad. Please be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to help support my channel, and stay tuned for the next one.